my God, that thing sounds like a F1 car.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. All right, so check it out. We are going to do something slightly frowned upon, but we've made some calls and it should be good. But we've only got like 30 minutes to pull this off. Formula Drift, Long Beach, just happened last night. My boy Matt Field, he clinched second in the championships. He happens to have his absolutely badass C8 that he built. It's basically a full-on race car. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this opportunity, cruise over to the Port of Los Angeles, get some beauties of it, get some sick rollers of it on the street, and hopefully I don't have to pay anybody's bail today. So we're doing this one a little different because time is of the essence here, but obviously we have Matt Field's bitchin' C8. So we're getting it a little cleaned up. We're gonna get some buttery rollers of it first, and then we'll give a little breakdown on what this thing's all about. But we need to do these rollers before traffic gets, gnarly here in Long Beach. We got our bitchin' rugged radio set up so we can communicate here, because I don't think he'll be able to hear us talking over a walkie-talkie. So, boom, we're going official. It's hot, boys. All right, I'm on, I'm ready. All right, rock and roll, brother. Brother, that thing sounds like a full-on race car. That's the best part of this whole car. On the streets of Long Beach, baby. I love it. Hell yeah. Just missed the cop, that's great.
All right, Matt, go ahead and pull up a little bit closer right there. Okay, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my God, that thing sounds like a F1 car.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Feels like a rocket ship going by. You feel the whole car.
Yeah. God damn, dude.
Miles an hour before you know it, and this thing has drift car brakes, so they work, but they're for drifting.
Just right up here at this next light, let's like spin it around. All right, fresh off the Formula Drift Championship circuit, we're here with Mr. 777, Captain America himself, Mr. Matt Field.
I like that one.
Yeah, you like that? Hey,
Yeah,
you know,
thank you.
yeah, you know. Hey, listen, I wore the Dale shirt for you
it's too
because,
good.
man, look, I'm so glad we got to do this, and thank you, City of Long Beach, for not sending us to jail on this and letting us get this little time to do this. We have arguably the nastiest C8 on the planet. It's NA. It's got 3 pedals. It was so cool to see this thing ripping on the street. It sounds insane. We're just gonna dive into it right now. It's a full-blown race car, dude. This is nasty.
So it's funny, my actual C6 Formula Drift car, you could drive it around every day. It's got a heavy clutch, a regular size. It doesn't have a ton of compression. You could start it up and drive it cold. It's no problem. Then I hop in this thing. It's work just to drive it over here.
Oh yeah, dude. You just, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's dive into the most important part that makes this thing so sick. Can we pop the hood, trunk, whatever the hell you want to call it?
Let's do it, dude. Yeah, give me that pop there.
Obviously, what you won't find in other C8s is a crazy high compression, big old cubic inch. Is it technically an LS?
Dude, LS.
Okay.
But what's left? It's maybe from GM, the only thing left, oil pan gasket. That's about it. Oh, and maybe a rear main seal.
Hey, look, see, it's still got some factory parts. So let's start from the bottom. Let's work our way top, okay? What block are you running in this?
So it's a Concept Performance LSR block. Okay. So aftermarket, the best, strongest aluminum blocks on the market. Tall deck, raised cam. That's how we're able to get 468.
How big of a cam bore is this running? You got a big old, excuse we got a...
Somebody gave him one of these, dude.
Yeah, brother. Okay, so yeah, how big of a cam is this thing running?
So it is bored out, the cam tunnel's bored out for roller bearings.
Race car?
The base circle of the cam is larger than a traditional LS cam, and they do that so when it's revving to 9,000 RPM, it doesn't slam the valve shut and start tulipping the valve. So it gives you that 1-inch lift, basically, damn near 1-inch lift, 950 or something like that, 990, without slamming the valve shut and having room for the
also, bigger, girthier cam means you're not going to get deflection, you're not going to get any flex in it when you are spinning it super high. And obviously with that much lift, you probably got a hell of a lot of valve spring in this too.
Dude, they're less gnarly than you would think, but insane, which is funny because Samir at Grom Racing, he was like, no, these springs aren't that crazy. And I'm like, yo, when I'm rotating this thing over with no plugs in it, like as we're pulling the rockers, there's a lot of force. And he's like, oh yeah, that's not that crazy compared to some big blocks and some of that other stuff. But for me, being a normal Texas Speed style 660 lift springs like my whole life, no, these are different.
What shocked me was the cylinder heads on this thing are wild. They came basically as a giant block of aluminum, and it's like, hey, figure out the port design yourself and how big you want to go. The friggin' cylinder heads have to be like 2 inches taller than a normal.
Dude.
So what are the cylinder heads that are on this right now?
The search for 1,000 crank horsepower naturally aspirated does not come easily. No. I think a lot of people say, oh, my traditional LS Heaven heads will make that. Mine will do this, mine will do that. I personally have never seen it. When I reached out to Samir, I was like, what's the baddest, sickest heads for an LS out there? Because I want to do naturally aspirated. He's like, CID LSCR. So that's basically a canted valve cylinder head. Normal LSs, all the valves are in a line. That doesn't necessarily give you the best valve spring geometry. You can't fit the biggest valves. The ports now struggle for that. So this is more like a big block head where they're canted.
Nice. Symmetrical port, canted valves, crazy angle on this stuff.
When you look at the port side, like the exhaust port and the intake port, they're insane. And that's also why, if you kind of look in, the exhaust is not a traditional LS flange, not at all. So these are basically an SC2, which is like a cup style forward head that was made to bolt to an LS block. This bore spacing is basically the same, but it's actually a Ford architecture head that bolts onto this. So that means intake manifold had to be custom. All the exhaust, super custom. I had to even get custom made exhaust gaskets for this SC2 because they're 2 1/4 runners. You know, everything starts spiraling out of control.
Nice. And then how big are the valves in this thing?
I don't even remember, but they're like 2.5-inch intake valve or something like that. It's insane. The exhaust valves are not that absurdly huge, but the intake valve is where all the power's made.
So typical, like in my LS7, I think we're at like a 2 1/4-ish, not even.
And that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 2.5 on an LS is giant. And then what is the displacement?
468 cubic inches. So it is 4 1/4 stroke crank. Not 4 1/8. A lot of times people do tall decks with 4 1/8, but this is 4 1/4 because we wanted this thing to be a stump puller. We wanted to have torque, but Also rev to 9,000 RPM. It's like they say you can't have your cake and eat it too, but we're trying.
Big old piston, a lot of piston stability. And when you hear this thing rev, it revs like a fucking F1 car. It is crazy. It's insane. This thing has push rods. We're gonna play it a lot, so don't worry, don't worry. So this exhaust is pretty crazy. Full 8-in-1. Is this rotary fire too? Or?
Exactly. A lot of guys will do 4 on this side, on this half of the collector. 4 on that side, on that half of the collector. But that sounds like your average Joe's LS pushrod V8. That was unacceptable for us. So every cylinder is in the firing order. So this one will fire, then the next cylinder to fire is this one, next cylinder fire is this one. And you do that so that the actual pulses pull out the next cylinder. And that's what gives it that very smooth, very quick, high revving, almost like a street bike.
It's like spinning the exhaust like a turbine, essentially.
We're scientists, we do.
Yeah, it sounds so sick.
This was up to Borla too, because I told him, hey, this is the collector, this is where it has to be based off the chassis. I notched the chassis, I mounted the collector. We had all the CAD for the engine, we scanned the engine, we have all the CAD for the chassis directly from GM, and when we placed this collector and we sent everything to Borla, their engineers designed it in the computer, everything was CNC bent, laser cut, and I dropped the car off to them a week before SEMA. And I'm like, you guys are good, right? You got this, right? And David and his crew in Oxnard knocked this out of the park.
We're just gonna keep blasting your eardrums with it, so don't worry about it. So the throttle bodies on this thing are pretty nasty. You got dual, well, those 4150 flange or those 4500?
4500s.
Damn,
Yeah,
boys,
yeah,
okay.
exactly. Wilson recently, I think these came out like 2 years ago. They're 1900 CFM each, where most of the other throttle bodies on the market were like in the 15. So this was like their big dog that just happened to come out. And it's a little bit different because I haven't personally seen anything with a 4500 that was drive-by-wire. And I'm a big drive-by-wire guy. So for me to try to figure out how to make it work, it was difficult. And you know what's funny? I'm not like a super old school hot rodder guy. So when I was looking for throttle linkage, I didn't even know how to Google the correct terms.
Yeah.
And then Jay from Black Tracks, my tuner, who's an old school hot rod guy, he's like, oh, you're talking about a bell crank. And I'm like, what the hell's a bell crank?
We're actually in the same predicament right now with my blown Tahoe, figuring out how do we get the throttle body or throttle bodies, because when I switch over to 2, to activate. So this is actually cool to see because it's like, okay, they figured it out. This is how you could actually run a drive-by-wire on it, which makes it a lot cleaner. You don't have to have a bunch of rods and going everywhere. You have full control over this. And then what ECU you running?
So this is Link, it's a Voodoo Pro. It's their Mac Daddy that just got dropped at the beginning of this year. What's really cool about the drive-by-wire is too, because naturally aspirated, you're looking for crumbs. You switch a fuel, you make 5 or 10 horsepower. You change the cam profile, 15 or 20 horsepower. Like we're looking for crumbs to try to make 850 wheel naturally aspirated. And what Jay was actually doing on the dyno, through the power curve, we were getting a little bit of, maybe there's a restriction in this, or there's more flow down low, and then it levels off, and then it comes back in through the power curve. So Jay was actually tuning where the throttle bodies would be opening. So you go floored, and the throttle bodies don't just go open. They slowly open, close a little bit, open back up to try to flatten out the curve so we weren't getting any of these dips or harmonics there. So it's just about maximizing these tiny little 1%ers looking for crumbs.
So harmonic reversion, look it up. We're not gonna talk about it here because that'll take way too long. And plus it's way above my my pay grade for my brain.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Let's get into the transmission on this thing because this is something you don't see on a C8 at all. We got 3 pedals. And then you got a full-blown, is this all dog gears? Like, is this all straight-cut gears?
Yeah, so actually Weddle does a traditional gear, but it's all dog engagement. So everything's a dog faceplate. There's no synchros. It's a 5-speed sequential. This is actually a transmission out of like the wheelie 1,000 horsepower, 1,200 horsepower sand cars, or any of the big class 1 buggies that do Baja. So it's funny, when I reached out to Weddle, I was like, what do you think? This is what I'm doing. And obviously they were pumped on the project. I'm like, do you think it'll last like in drifting? And they're like, we don't know anything about drifting, but it does 1,000 miles with 37-inch tires with 900 horsepower behind a class 1. If that gives you any insight, you tell us.
So you can take a beating, basically.
I was like, we'll be all right, yeah.
So basically what you're saying is he's going to put some long travel boys on this and we're going to take it to the dunes.
Yeah, do some wheelies.
Let's do it. Hit some paddles on this. So what axle do you run on this?
It's all drive shaft shop stuff. So of course, custom axles needed to be made, and they are long. because the width of this car is ridiculous for sure. Drive Shaft Shop has been a partner of mine for a really long time. They do axles in my demo car, my race car, everything. And honestly, they're the best axles on the market, because when you tell them that you're going to do 1,200 horsepower, 295s, locking them up and clutch dumping the thing at 9,000 RPM, they're like, oh yeah, you need these. And what's cool is this is the newer style where it has a 2-piece axle. So you have the actual axle with CVs on either side, but then the outer can stay in the hub. So it makes your life easy. If you do break an axle or something goes wrong, you don't have to pull the knuckle out to get the axle out. You can just unbolt it from this outer flange right here. Boom, axle drops out, put a new one on.
Nice, so it's basically like if you're running a truck with some sort of independent suspension.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
This is a Corvette. We got to remember, these are basically Silverados.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Perfect. And then obviously we got the Link Smart coils up there.
Yep. So stock GM coils, crazy impressive. I have stock coils on my race car, 1150 wheel, and they've been problem free for years and years. The problem's not necessarily like the amount of power, but it's the dwell time when you're starting to do 9,000 RPM. We turned this thing to 9,500 on the dyno, and I'm not sure a stock coil could keep up with that, because these things make some juice. And also, if you have just a little bit more spark, maybe you can do a little bit more fuel, get a little more aggressive with the timing, pick up some crumbs. And again, it's all about crumbs.
One thing we can still see on the back here I want to talk about is suspension and brakes. Obviously you got some sick coils on this thing. You can see it on the street. It's full-blown race car. So what coilovers are you running here?
So Part Shop Max was hugely involved in the whole build of this car. There's no way I can do it without having a real engineer. No one just makes drift spec coilovers for a C8 Corvette. No one makes an angle kit for a C8 Corvette. So we had to do everything on our own. What's cool about an actual Corvette is the rear suspension is dialed. There's zero toe gain, very little camber gain. It's a road race car, right? It's set up to be a race car. So all we did in the back was machine the knuckle to accept the dual calipers. And of course we run the new Superlight XCR Willwood calipers, which are, again, all these parts were like coming out right when we were building this car. So it was like great to put something kind of new and innovative and very, very lightweight on the back of this car.
So sick, and it looks dope too. I love the gold.
The gold, dude, that's Part Shop Max gold. Yeah, when you see the front end stuff, it's like, it's jewelry, dude. It's so crazy.
Now I see you got the big old dry sump tank here. Obviously there's a dry sump motor. You ain't gonna turn that kind of RPM with a wet sump. So what are you running for a pump, pan, and then tank?
So it's all ARE stuff. He makes a pan, he makes the tank, all of that. What's cool about this tank is there's actually an air oil separator built into the tank. So on my race car, I have it separate, hanging out in the fender well. But again, this stuff was starting to come out. I'm like, I want to try it. I want to do this. So dry sump on a naturally aspirated engine is huge. I think it's 9 quarts or something like that is what that thing takes in there. So it's not as much as you would think. But again, that tank was custom built to fit in the location that I wanted it to.
And then what pump are you running on this?
So it's a 4-stage suction ARE pump.
Billet pan, or how's that work? Do you have to run the hoses on everything, or what?
Yeah, you do for sure. Okay. Yep, still one of those.
We're dealing with that right now too. Yeah. It's a lot of lines.
It's a lot of lines underneath there, for sure.
So let's get into the business end. Let's get in the office here.
Yeah.
So obviously when you first open the doors, the first thing you notice if you have a C6 Corvette is this has a C6 Corvette dash, which actually looks great in here.
It's crazy. Look at the width. Perfect.
So that wasn't modified?
No, the width was exactly that wide. All I did was trim it around the roll cage.
Nice. It actually looks cooler and looks like there's way more space because it doesn't have the big center console thingy coming down. This shifter array is sick. So we got shifter, we got, what is this? This is for reverse?
Yeah, exactly. So Weddles always have had 2 cables because at the end of the day, the Weddle is actually built off of like a Volkswagen style transmission. Yep. And this is the way that Weddle has been doing it forever. You have 5 speeds, up, down, get into neutral, and then the right-hand lever is reverse. Get into neutral, pull it into reverse. When you're done with reverse, put it back in, start grabbing gears. So this handbrake is very, very special. It's actually based off of like the Group B rally handbrakes from back in the day. So that's why I'm sure you've seen like this shape. Those guys had like carbon handles and everything, but this is the same shape. And it has one of the baller tilt-in master cylinders with it that's all floating on bearings. You actually see here too, the little red lever is the parking brake. So pull the handbrake, lock the rear calipers, basically a line lock for the rear so that I can park the thing. Like, look, we're on a slope right now and we're not rolling.
I was just gonna say, it's not rolling forward like I'd imagine it would.
These are the cables. It does have cables, so I hid it in this carbon box to make it look nice.
I mean, you can't see it here, but like all the bulkheads for the electrical behind the seat, everything's really clean. We got bulkheads for the oil lines. Basically, I'm guessing this is run to a cooler or something.
Yeah, so these are actually the water lines because the radiator's in the front.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Well, think about it, right? It's the only drift car that you do a front mount radiator swap, right?
Because the engine's in the back.
Yeah.
I like the little like carbon insert for the roof too. Is that stock or is that?
So this is Anderson Composites. They made the doors, the hood, and the trunk, all of that. And actually these, it's funny, these are Anderson doors, but I cut the inside out because they're made for like a street car, so you can run your factory door panels. And these are actually the same C6 inner door panels off of my race car too, so more C6 parts.
Okay, well, I love that the C6 stuff bolts up.
Yeah.
Looks.
And of course you got to put carbon on your, so you don't chip your paint on your roll cage from your harnesses.
Nice and clean.
Yeah.
And then you got your rugged radio set up down here.
Yeah. So this car is the first time that I did a built-in radio. Normally I just use a handheld in the race car, but the built-in is so much more powerful, and I wanted to do a built-in because I wanted to have an intercom. So the whole point of this car is visceral experience and letting people experience drifting in the ultimate way for their first time. So I want to make sure that we can plug their radio in, we have full intercom, open communications, you don't have to push a button, and we just have a chat and go for a ride.
By the way, this steering column looks so sick.
Dude, the Woodward stuff is so nice, and they have all the billet parts, so you can basically mount the steering column just by clamping it to a dash bar.
Sick looking dash. Who's that by?
So AIM, they actually do the display, the keypad, the PDM. This car actually has 2 PDMs, a 32 in the front and an 8 in the back, because this thing just has a lot of different power outputs. I have interior lights, exterior lights, work lights, electric water pumps all over the place. This thing actually has electric power steering, because that was a whole thing too. We can get into that when we get in the front.
I just did that on my truck too.
Yep.
So yeah, you got all of your electronics up there. So your PDM, is that your ECU up there too?
So the ECU is right next to the driver in the back. Okay. So Jay from Black Tracks actually built the engine harness, and then Robbie from AIM, he's like their head guy at AIM, product development, running looms, all of that. He came out and wired the whole chassis. And this chassis is very sophisticated. It has steering angle sensors, GPS, shock potentiometers. It has pressure sensors for front brake, rear brake, handbrake, clutch. Has reverse camera. It has all the engine diagnostics and all the things that like the engine spits out. So all the systems talk to each other, and this thing has more sensors than you need. But you know what? If you're gonna do it,
got to do it right. Hey, complication. Love that.
Complication.
As long as you're not having to make the wiring harness yourself, rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, okay, so we're gonna spin this around so we can get the front and the light. I want to pop the trunk on there, the frunk. I don't know what the fuck.
Frunk.
Yeah. Let me show you what's under there. Booyah, look at that. Fatty PWR setup. Obviously this is all custom.
This is a perfect example of engineering at its finest. Engineers working in harmony with production and what's involved in my mind and how I see things. But then also the fact that like, normally I build cars by hand. You get it. You need a bracket, you make the bracket, you weld it on, job's done, right? Maybe you spent 4 hours doing it. Radiators have kind of been the same thing for me before I started working with PWR. I'd buy something off the shelf, trim it up, weld some bungs, boom, 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 it's done. Once I started working with them, they're like, oh no, tell us what you need or send us a drawing and we'll just have it ready to go for you. So if you need another radiator, it's already done. What Chris did from Part Shop Max is he designed the radiator to basically be bolt-in to the factory location. Obviously, factory car has a bunch of stuff and a luggage and all that stuff up here. But these riv nuts on the side are basically in a factory location. The brackets that bolt to the radiator, they're made to go around the chassis. Like there is millimeters of clearance. It bolts to the firewall and bolts right down here, and it basically fell in between the frame rails. We're talking like there is very little clearance between this and the Anderson hood, and this is actually the dry brake for the fuel system. That's a part of the radiator that also had to get taken into account. All of this ducting and all of that's all done in CAD, all sent out to Send Cut Send or PWR, laser cut, and then arrives to you ready to bolt on.
So how big is this radiator?
It's a 2.5-inch core.
And then the fans on there, just some big spall units.
Brushless balls, exactly. In a drift car, because there's no direct airflow, it's kind of difficult. You can't put like a 4-inch thick radiator in there and expect it to cool. It's a balance between thinness so that air can go across the fins, but also capacity. And that's kind of always the struggle in a drift car, is we want as much capacity as possible, but we don't want too much air restriction because we're basically solely relying on the fans.
Now, the fuel cell, where is that?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite parts of the car. I can't bring myself to putting the fuel cell in the danger zone, but I wanted it in front to help the weight balance. This actually has like a torque tube tunnel, right? Like, so all Corvettes basically have a tunnel going down. Most cars, they have a transmission tunnel. This had that. And we were like, what the hell is this for? They had like some air conditional plumbing lines in there. They had like a body control module in there from the factory. So when I ripped all that out, there's just this open cavity. So I got FuelSafe to build a custom fuel cell that lives in the front half of this tunnel. If you see the carbon panel, you unbolt that and then you can pull the Aeromotive fuel pump right out of the top of the cell. So the cell lives in there in this front half of it. So of course we wanted to get the weight as far forward as possible, but still have the fuel cell mounted really low, centrally located, and I wanted it to have 10 gallons of fuel. My race car's got like 6.5 or 7, and I'm constantly stressed about it running out of fuel. And because this is kind of a demo car, a car that you take and go drifting on the mountain roads, drift Appalachia, do grid lives, that kind of stuff, I wanted it to be able to not be stressing about running out of fuel. So 10 gallons right in the middle of the car. What's crazy is this engine is so efficient. When you're cruising around and idling, it's really not that bad. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just, this thing burns super, super clean, and it's actually pretty lean when we're just rolling around here. And it actually is on C16. So my race cars, everything else is usually on ethanol, but naturally aspirated, it seemed like it liked the C16 more.
So what is the weight of this thing?
With me in it, it's 2950. The weight balance is 57% rear. I was telling myself, I can get this thing to 50-50. My race car C6, that thing's 50-50. Like, I can do it, I believe it. Then when everything was all said and done, I was pretty far off. But after driving it, I'm like, maybe I don't want 50-50. Maybe I want, 55-45, something like that.
Well, have you ever considered tracking this? Like doing a road course? Because I feel like it's probably, with some setup changes, this thing would probably rip on a road course.
I want to take it to Pikes Peak. That would be serious.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. It's coming to Pikes.
Well, you've done the event, right? Yeah. So maybe you show me around for the first year.
I'm the worst person to show you around, okay? I was like enjoying some beverages, just hanging out, okay? Watching Scott Birdsell fly off the side of the mountain.
How we built this thing, it wouldn't be the biggest thing to change over to do a road race setup. But I mean, the front end of this is purpose built, designed to be a drift car, because this is actually a C6 knuckle, C6 steering rack with electric power steering from my buddies at Hang Tight. It's basically a Jeep power steering pump that is can controlled, and then I have a little dial there so that I can adjust the amount of assist that it gives out, which is great because I had no idea what kind of power steering assist this thing might need, like with the front end being so light. So it's special.
Nice, love that. Well, I think it's time that you hear this thing wide open. You ready?
Let's go. Yeah, baby.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, bud. Yours too, huh?
much it pushes you back in the seat.
Yeah, dude. This thing hits.
For NA.
This thing's so sick.
So rowdy, right?
Damn. Well, that was sick. Dude.
We survived.
Yes, we did.
We made it back.
No jail time. Thank you to the city of Long Beach for allowing us this 30 minutes to do this. And holy crap, this thing is wild, dude.
It's wild, dude.
I had no idea how nasty this thing is, and like it is a full-on race car.
It's funny when you look at it from the outside, you see it's jerky and loud and clanks in the gear and everything, but when you're inside, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
This is sick. If you want to see more, go over to Matt Field's page. They covered this whole build in detail, in depth. So if you need to know anything about it, you can find all the information there. We'll try to share as much as we can with you, but head over to his page. He's got some dope stuff going on. And dude, I appreciate you taking a little time.
Dude,
Congrats,
thanks for coming to FD this weekend.
Of course, man.
Good weekend overall. We got to do this. Thanks
Yes.
for having me, bro.
Dude,
Fuck
hell yeah. I think it's time to get some breakfast now.
Yeah.
And, yeah, decompress after that super sick high RPM session.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.